Hello and welcome to the MindMerge podcast. I am Bram and sitting with me here is my friend Nick.
And we have known each other for about 10 years, and we'll be talking about life and how it has affected us.
Let's go on a journey navigating life's realities. Okay, let's just be silent for 1 minute. Take a deep breath. Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to today's episode. We've been doing our breathing exercises, so now we're all centered and we're all ready to go. Welcome to today's episode. What we're going to talk about today, Nick?
We're going to be talking about the inner dialogue or the internal dialogue, self-talk, whatever you want to call it, the little voice that you have inside of your head that you sort of communicate with.
Yeah. So it's the voices you have in your head. And you know it's always different voices, or not always, but it could be different voices.
Yeah,
that's what we're gonna talk about.
Also based on different moods, the way that you're feeling, whatever you are doing, it all depends on what kind of thoughts that you're having, or the thoughts depend on how you're feeling.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna talk about the internal dialogue today, and we also are going to relate it to a metaphor today. We'll discuss the metaphor later. So obviously the internal dialogue can be split up into two parts, right? The positive and the negative one.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a lot of different types of voices you can have in your head. And how does that look? How does it look like for normal people versus, let's say, people in depressions?
I think for normal people, you can have moments of stress, moments of anxiety. Maybe you're dealing with a test. Maybe you have stress at work. And that also depends on the words that you're using and how you're feeling. So the words that you are telling to yourself, like, oh, maybe I can't do this. Maybe some doubt creeps in, which changes the way that you talk, which changes the way that you feel. Mm-hmm. And you can also be feeling good. You can be feeling happy. You can go to, I don't know, maybe you have a holiday coming. So you have all of these positive words and you're looking forward to something. So you're having like all of these positive words that you're saying to yourself, which in the end makes you feel better.
Yeah.
For someone that is depressed, let's say, maybe they have nothing to look forward to. Maybe they have a lot of self-stigma. So all of the words that they're saying, I am a failure, I am this, I am that, I'm not looking good, also creates a way that they feel.
Yeah.
And it's a constant cycle of one single voice, let's say. It's always the depressed voice that is talking.
Yeah. So what I think is an important distinction to make here is that we're talking about someone having a voice in their head, and we're talking about it like that not because we think they are insane, but because we see it as two different things. Because that's an important idea to understand what we're going to talk about today. You are not your thoughts necessarily. You should consider the fact that there's just different voices in your head. Your brain is just giving you certain thoughts. Your brain is telling you certain things, and you should see yourself distance yourself from the thoughts you have in your head, which also means this is why mindfulness is such a thing. What mindfulness is all about is creating awareness of what thoughts are going on inside your head. And once you become more aware of the thoughts you have in your head, you can make a choice if you either want to believe it or don't want to believe it. So today we have a metaphor where we're going to talk about noticing what different thoughts could be going on inside your head. Yeah. How could you recognize these voices?
And how can you change from one voice to another?
Yes.
If you realize that I'm listening to this voice right now, or this voice is speaking, but this is not the voice, or this is not the time and place for this voice, because I need something more positive. I need something more encouraging. Yeah. I need something to help me through this presentation that I'm about to give. Yeah. And if I have all these doubts, what if I can't do it? What if I can't do that? What if it goes wrong? Those are not the thoughts that I need in that moment. I can also choose to actively go from, okay, but I can do this. I've practiced for this. I've done it before. It all depends on how you're feeling in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also that I think with certain voices, you can give yourself or you can make yourself believe it.
Yeah.
Let's say from the beginning of time, you've always told yourself, I'm shy. So whenever I enter a room, I'm going to be shy and I don't know what to say. I don't know this. So what happens is as soon as you enter the room, you're going to be shy.
Yeah.
But doesn't necessarily mean that you are shy, but you've told yourself that you are shy.
Mm-hmm. So it's funny you say this because I feel like I'm going through a time in my life at the moment where I always feel like throughout my life, I've always felt that my confidence has sort of gone up and down. You know, it's just periods and I feel like the last period for no particular reason, my confidence was a bit lower. I feel like it's going in a up trajectory at the moment. But I kind of have this voice in my head where I'm kind of like, okay, I feel less confident, and in social moments and social interactions, I feel this voice. I feel like sometimes I can come off as a little shy, or I feel like I'm shy or awkward, for example. And that's because I'm going through this period, or at least I'm telling myself, okay, I'm less confident, which results in I'm believing in this voice right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening to this voice.
So how did you change that?
Well, I feel I'm still in process. And I think it's just part of who I am, and it's just a phase I'm going through. But what helps for me is not necessarily trying to combat being shy or awkward, or, you know, it also has to do with how tired I am, for example. So, for example, I used to work at a bar, like I recently quit, but I work at the bar, and afterwards, sometimes I'm tired, and, you know, there's a lot of very fun social people working there as well. And sometimes there's moments where I'm just kind of tired, and I don't feel like being social. And there were times where I really were like, okay, I need to be social, because when I just started working here, I was social and I was fun. And now, I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of awkward. I don't know what to say. I want to talk to this person, but the conversation isn't really working. And the moment where I'm just kind of like, okay, it's just, I don't have that much energy at the moment. I'm just kind of awkward at the moment. I'm kind of shy at the moment, and that's okay.
It's also the reassuring that it's okay. It's okay to be tired sometimes. It's okay to not be fully social sometimes.
Yeah. And there was this voice in my head, which was a strict voice telling me, okay, you need to be this, you need to be social, you need to be not awkward. And it's the same voice that's being strict with me on other parts in my life. But what really helps for me is just committing to it and just not listening to the voice and just be like, yeah, but I am just a little shy, or I am a little tired or a little awkward at the moment. And that's fine. I don't need to be social always.
Because it's just who I am.
Yeah, it is who I am. If I'm tired, that means I'm a bit awkward or shy. And that's fine. Because, I mean, I don't have the energy. I mean, come on. I've been working for
of course,
a few hours. Yeah.
So when was the first time that you realized that you could, let's say, change the voices, that you could change from one to another?
I'm not sure. I don't feel like there was one particular moment for me. I feel like it's just been a phase. It's just been a period where I've been learning I mean, what really helped were people. So going to a therapist, people telling me, yeah, okay, but what you're telling right now, that's a negative voice in your head. And you don't necessarily need to listen to this. You can choose to ignore this. You can, well, I mean, it starts with identifying. It starts with, okay, it's the negative voice in my head that's talking right now. And then once you realize it's a negative voice in your head that's talking, choose to actively not listen to it. It can be there. Don't try to get rid of it, because it's also part of who you are. Because in a way, it's trying to protect you as well. But that's another topic for another episode. But choose to actively not listen to it. Choose like, oh, okay, I'm having these thoughts. I'm not going to do anything with this. And just let them go or let them be there. Don't try to fight them. Try to be friends with them in a way.
Or maybe like try to make them more soft. Like try to see it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Try to, like, let's say you're tired and you're shy, and also say, but it's okay that I'm shy because I'm tired.
Exactly. So having a second voice with different arguments sort of balance it out. Because there's this one voice who's like being very strict with me, and then there's just one soothing, nice voice, and they balance each other out. And in the middle, that's me, you know. Yeah.
No, but that's true. Yeah.
So we've been talking to voice about until now, and I want to get into the metaphor, because the metaphor. Could you explain a little about the metaphor?
Sure.
For today.
For me, it felt like the metaphor was about a radio station, and on a radio station, you have all of these different channels or different stations, different, let's say, music that you're listening to.
Yeah.
And on one music you have rock, and the other one you have classical music, and all of these different ones, and they all give you a different feeling. So for me, it always felt like music is therapy for the soul.
Yeah.
But if you really think about it, music is just words aligned in a certain order that give you a certain feeling. So it also, the way that you talk to yourself with certain words give you a certain feeling.
Yeah.
And you might not even be aware of which radio station you're listening to, but it is giving you a certain feeling.
Yeah.
And if you are not aware of which one you're listening to, and you are always on the same channel, you're always going to feel a certain way. And if that is a bad channel, you're going to feel bad.
Yeah. Are you always on the same channel? I feel like you're always throughout your day just shifting channels.
Because I think sometimes it can automatically switch to an insecure channel, or let's say if we're giving them names, it would be Worry FM.
Yeah, yeah.
And they can just slip in, sort of. They just go from A to B, and B would be the worry channel, without really realizing that it's happening.
So in this metaphor, it's like you have a radio in your head with different channels, and every single channel are your thoughts.
Yeah.
Whatever is coming out of the radio, let's say whatever is coming out of the radio are your thoughts. And there's different channels. So there's Worry FM, but there's, I mean, we
have a list.
Came a few.
Yeah.
So maybe explain these a little. So Worry FM.
Worry FM, it would be an automatic radio that switches on even if you do not want it to. And I think that's the whole part, is the negativity happens automatically because it is the easiest way for your thoughts to go to. It's the easiest way to go there.
Because of how we're wired. As an animal, which we are in a way. You know?
It's somehow to defend yourself, somehow to be safe. You find all of these negative things just to protect yourself. And for the positive ones, we have Gratitude Radio, Confidence Channel, Strengths Anthem, or Courage Concerto.
Wow.
It's like all of these different ones, but you have to consciously and actively go to those. You have to realize, okay, currently I'm in Worry FM, and all of my thoughts are negative. Everything that I'm thinking about is worry, worry, worry. That's not going to make me feel any better.
No.
So instead, I might look at my confidence channel and look at the things I'm actually good at. So when I'm giving that presentation, I can think about all the things that could go wrong. Is that going to give me any confidence? Is that going to give me any strength to actually give the presentation? No. If I would go to my confidence channel and think like, okay, am I nervous to be standing in front of a audience? Maybe not really. Am I afraid to talk? Maybe also not. I'm pretty good at talking. So why am I having all of these worries when I can also focus on something that gives me confidence?
But now you're approaching it in a negative way. It sounds like when you're trying to access your confidence channel, you're saying, am I afraid to, or am I bad at, or isn't it better to just say, okay, I like doing presentations in front of an audience. I know what I'm going to talk about because I prepared it for so much. I did very good work on this. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
it better to approach it from a positive direction?
Yeah, maybe you're right. No, yeah, I think you're right.
And so I agree with you need to actively do work to get to the confidence channel, for example. But what I notice, maybe not so much if you're in a depression, but if like we are at the moment, I feel like we're out of the depressions.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's, if I didn't do the work, there's like the confidence channel is there. So it doesn't, you don't always need to put in the effort. Sometimes it's just on if you're lucky. It just really depends. You can be in a good mood and there'll be a good channel on.
Yeah, of course, it doesn't always automate, but I think if you're in a bad spot, you have to consciously go there because you have had the Worry FM or Stress Symphony on for months, maybe years, and you forgot where the confidence channel was.
Yeah.
Like, it's still there, but it's just very hard to find between the channels because
you need to literally search for it like you need to do on a radio. You need to scan, you need to experiment, because that's what, if I'm, okay, nowadays there's like super modern radios which just have an automatic searcher, or they switch to a channel because they already know what it is. But the old school ones, you had to turn the knob and literally experiment to just turn the knob, just search for a channel.
Yeah. No, but it's if for the last, let's say, year, you've only had 2 channels, and that is Regret Radio and Stress Symphony.
Yeah.
So I think after a while, you feel like those are the only 2 channels that you have because you don't know any better anymore.
Yeah.
So why would you go looking for anything else?
Yeah.
But we have all of these different channels that are still there, but they might be hidden behind something.
Yeah. And what I also thought was very interesting, I was on the way here in the car with Maurice, and I talked to him about what we're going to talk about today. And what he said, what I thought was very insightful, was sometimes you lose track of stations. So let's say you have a friend radio or like a happy radio, which is based on, the DJs on your happy radio are your friends. You hear their voices if you're on a happy radio. But sometimes, let's say you go to, so I studied for half a year in another country. Since I'm moving away, I'm losing the frequency of the radio. I cannot access that happy radio at the moment because I'm not there. I don't have access to the friends, So when I was there, I needed to actively find a new happy radio. I need to actively change the frequency while I'm there to, find the in my case, I went to Portugal, find the Portuguese version
of the happy
radio.
Yeah.
And
because you're saying it like this. What would happen if you would remain on the old happy radio?
It would become, it doesn't work exactly like a radio, but I'd say it would become static. You still have like some, obviously you're not going to forget your friends just because you move away, but you don't have direct access to them in the way you have when you're in your own country, when you're near them.
No, but that's why it's like it's okay to change channels sometimes, or maybe you should change channels, even though sometimes it might be scary.
Yeah, it is. Well, I also feel like we're talking a lot about changing channels, but it all starts with noticing them,
recognizing the channels, like which channel am I on right now?
Yeah.
How does this channel make me feel?
Yeah.
Is this a channel I want to be on?
Yeah. And maybe, let's say you can step 1, be able to identify channels.
How do you identify a channel?
How do you do? Well, it has to do with what I said earlier, mindfulness.
Mhm.
So it starts with the idea I'm not my thoughts. Those are two separate things. I have my thoughts. I have a radio in my head, and I can actively choose to listen to it or not. If you realize you're on a wrong channel and it's radio Worry FM, for example, you notice it, and then if you don't feel like listening to it at the moment, actively try to not listen to it. You could try to change it. If you want to change it, you need to do stuff like write stuff down, actively either talk to someone about it. That helps as well. Because if you're talking to someone, you don't necessarily need to listen to the radio, and you're also able to change it a little. That person could change it for you. And you could also write some stuff down, like do a gratitude writing assignment, for example. But you could also just choose to not listen to it. You don't have direct control over what radio you're listening to, what radio channel you listen to, but you do have direct control over what you do with the thoughts you have.
How you react to the channel that you're listening to.
Exactly. And if you're actively choosing to not listen to the radio, I mean, that's hard. It's not easy to just be like, okay, Worry FM's on now, I'm just not going to listen to it. So what helped for me personally was to then just go for a walk, or if you have a gym membership, go to the gym or do some kind of physical activity. Could be creative as well, whatever works for you. If you're doing something physically, it's way easier to get out of your head and to actively not listen to the thoughts you have, because it takes quite a lot of energy in my experience.
So you would say that it would be something like introspection, and introspection would mean that you actually distance yourself from the thoughts that you're having without the feeling attached to it, and just look at what you are thinking without having the emotions attached to it, and sort of rationalize the thoughts that you're having.
Objectively look at it. Yeah, in a way that's similar. It's not necessarily the thing I was thinking of, but yeah, in a way it's kind of like taking a helicopter view, but that only works for what radio channel am I on, identifying what radio channel is playing at the moment.
Yeah. So let's say you are on your confidence channel and everything is going well and everything, and then suddenly you realize there's static on your channel.
So, okay. That you can't access the confidence channel, you mean?
No, you are in the confidence channel, but suddenly you recognize small little static moments of maybe negativity or maybe anxiety that it's slowly creeping in onto your confidence channel.
It's like the radio wants to change to Worry FM.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's also just part of being human. It's impossible to always have positive thoughts. So if that would happen to me, I would maybe, and I'm aware of it, because to be very honest, we're talking big talk right here on the podcast, but still we struggle with this as well.
Of course.
It doesn't happen often that I would recognize this would happen. Your situation you're explaining to me right now. So if I would notice that would happen, I think maybe I would just sort of let it happen, because for me personally, if I feel like I'm actively forcing myself to be on a confidence channel, that's in reality Stress FM speaking, because there's this strict voice in my head which is like, okay, I need to be on the confidence channel. I cannot worry right now because worrying is bad and confidence is good. So I should, and it feels like I'm listening to Confidence FM. It feels like I'm trying to actively avoid Worry FM, but it's really the Stress Symphony, or there's like this negative radio channel that's actually
on.
So this makes it, that's why it's so hard to recognize what channels you're on, because you can think you're on one channel, but in reality you're on another
Other channel. Yeah.
and that's hard
It is hard.
because you feel like you figured it out, because you feel like, okay, I'm listening to Confidence FM right now. And I feel like I'm worrying. So like you feel like you're aware of what's happening, while in reality,
Actually, you have no idea yet.
you're pretty stressed and you're on a bad channel. So I guess kind of like letting it go a little. It's I don't have all the answers either, but this is how it would work for me.
Maybe not taking your thoughts too serious.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what thoughts.
Yeah, no, but I mean the negative
The
ones.
negative ones, yeah. Yeah. Because what's funny about negative thoughts, they're there to protect you. They're there for a reason. They're there to protect you. If you, let's say, if you're shy and awkward and you have these negative feelings about being negative and awkward, what those thoughts are trying to do, how they're trying to protect you, is they're trying to protect you from being an awkward and a shy person, because there's some thought in your brain you need to be social and whatever. And what's so interesting about these negative thoughts is they're causing you whatever they're trying to avoid. So they're trying to avoid, make you avoid being socially awkward and shy. So they're like, don't be shy, don't be awkward. But in reality, they're making you awkward.
Yeah, so it's somehow trying to protect you from the outside world, but at the same time, it's sort of damaging you on the inside.
Yeah. And that's why it's like you're saying, don't take them too seriously. But that I struggle with that, because it also really depends on what mood you're in. Sometimes you're really in a mood where you feel like you have a lot of control over your thoughts. You have a lot of control over the radio. And sometimes you're just in moods where it feels like you're back to stage one, you know, you're back where you were when you're in depression. You feel like, oh, I'm in such a deep hole and I don't have any control. And so, yeah, it keeps being a struggle. And what I feel like growing mentally, developing personally, what that's like for me is having more moments where I feel like I'm in control and having less moments where I feel like I'm not in control. It's not about always being in control.
But can you accept the part that the moments that you're not in control?
That's getting better. Yes. I feel like that's getting better for me. But I feel like that's something that's coming more recently.
But do you think accepting the part that you're not in control also helps you get back into control? So accepting the parts where you feel down, where you feel negative, and saying, okay, but it's okay because you can't always be happy. You can't always be in control. And that actually gives you the strength again to pick it up later.
Yeah. Yes. But that's because, okay, and now I'm going to make it a little complicated. I hope this is still, but that's because you're in that moment, you're actually in control. You feel like if you can say, okay, I'm feeling down right now. If you're able to say it, that means you're in control. Maybe not all the way you wanted to, because you still feel a little bad. But if you're feeling down and you're like, okay, now I'm just kind of feeling, it's just not a good day.
And that's
I'm just going to chill on the couch and that's okay. It's a way of being in control. The moments which suck the most are the ones where you just feel down and you're like, man, why am I feeling down again? I don't want to feel better.
And talking to yourself in that way is only going to make you feel more down and down and down. And like, oh, I'm lazy. I'm doing on the couch. I'm not doing anything. I'm a loser. Okay, you know what? Take one step more down. I'm a failure. Another step down. And you could also say like, okay, I've been working for a week now. Today is my day off.
Yeah.
It's okay that I feel empty. It's okay that I feel tired. It's okay that I'm laying on the couch.
And yeah, and that's a kind voice.
So it's also the way that you speak to yourself. It shouldn't be a battle. It shouldn't be a fight. It should be a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Listening to the negative voices. Or maybe not necessarily listening to them, but appreciating them, being friends in a way,
Mm-hmm.
because they're there to protect you. And that's, I think, for me, that's something I still maybe need to fully realize, but I feel like I'm at the moment in a phase, in a period in my life.
Mhm.
Maybe it's a period of 2 or 3 weeks, I don't know. It's not necessarily a period of years, where I need to realize, like, okay, these negative voices, they're just really here to protect me. There's nothing I'm thinking which is actively, like, purely evil intentions. Every single negative voice I have in my head is there because it's trying to protect me from something.
Mm-hmm. But do you think it can also overprotect you? So it starts to worry about things that you shouldn't actually worry about?
100%. Definitely.
Because I feel like my voice is sometimes trying to protect me from stress, from things that could go wrong.
Yeah.
But I feel like stress and new things is also an opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
So I can either look at it like, oh, I might fail, this is that, all of these anxiety, all of this being scared of things, that things could go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I can also learn from them. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a mistake or something bad, but also an opportunity for growth.
Do you have an example?
Let's say you are taking your first driving lesson, and you can have all of these things like, oh, I can't drive, I can't do this, I can't, but you're there to learn.
Yeah.
And your voice is protecting you and is giving you all of this anxiety, but it's also, you have to start from zero. You have to start, you're new, you're fresh, you don't know how to drive, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But if you think like, oh, I'm going to get into a car accident, you're there to learn, and someone is there to protect you. It's okay.
Yeah. So, but that's a very obvious way of, like, it's literally a learning environment. They're called driving lessons.
Mm-hmm. But isn't everything a learning environment?
I agree. Exactly. That's sort of what I wanted to get into. Lessons, they're easy to see as a learning opportunity. They're literally designed, they're an environment designed to make mistakes and to learn. But in reality, like you're saying, everything is a learning opportunity.
If you can see it in such a way.
If you can, exactly. I cannot think of one example at the moment of something that's truly a failure. Like, absolutely nothing you learned from it.
If you do nothing, that's a failure.
What do you mean if you do nothing?
If you have given up, if you do not try, if you do not make mistakes, I think that is failing.
Yeah.
Because from mistakes you can learn. It's you make a test and you fail your first test. You can either think, you know what, I'm not even going to try the second test because I already failed this. I don't know. But you can also be looking at your test, look at the mistakes you've made, and learn from the mistakes you've made, so you will pass the test the next time.
So what you're saying is the only way of failing is seeing your failures as a failure. If that makes sense.
Yeah, basically, I guess if you see them as an opportunity of growth, you will come back stronger the next time.
Yeah.
If you see them as a failure and you don't do anything, it's just going to be the same thing over and over.
So let's say you're in a bar and you see a girl you think is cute, but you're like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to walk up to her because maybe it'll be awkward. I'm going to not do it.
Yeah.
That's failing because you didn't try. While if you go up to her and it is awkward and but you are like, I shouldn't have done this.
But at least you tried.
Yes. And so in what way would that be an opportunity for growth? Being like, okay, at least I did it.
Because
next time it's easier.
You crossed your barriers. You expanded yourself. You did something that you were scared of. You were shy. You were nervous, and you still did it.
Yeah.
So maybe you didn't gain anything out of it with the girl, but you gained something from within. So you expanded yourself, and you had growth.
You expanded your comfort zone.
Yeah, your comfort zone. Yeah, you went out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So maybe for the next time, even though it didn't work out with the girl, you still gained something.
Yeah. Hence, opportunity for growth, not failure.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't do it, I mean, okay, let's be very realistic. In a way, not walking up to a girl is also a moment for growth, a learning opportunity. Because maybe after an hour when she's gone, you're like, oh man, I should have done this.
Mm-hmm.
I should have just gone up to her. You will feel bad because you didn't go up to her. That would also be a learning opportunity, because next time you're going to take that with you. You're going to be like, last time I was nervous and I'm feeling nervous like this, but I regretted it so much. So this time I will do it.
Because you don't want to feel the same way again.
Exactly.
But as if you learn from them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. As long as you have that moment of regret and that moment of learning.
Because I feel like you can also be there, you can feel shitty and just keep feeling shitty because of not doing it.
And then we're coming back to the radio stations, because in this example, can you define the different voices you can have in your head and assign them to a channel?
Let's say you are at the regret radio and you...
So regret radio would be, man, I should have gone up to her.
And then maybe you get into the depressed radio. You know, I can't even go up, talk to girls. I can't even do this. I can't even do that. And if you would go to the courage concerto radio, you can probably be like, okay, but I can do this next time. I've learned from my mistake. I should go up to her next time and I'm going to do that. And you feel the confidence. You feel like, okay, I can do this. I can do this.
Yeah.
But if you're on depressed radio...
And that's why it's so important to be aware of the radios, because I think it's not even a bad thing to be on the depressed radio for a while, because as long as you realize you're in the depressed radio and you realize it's because you did not go up to the girl, that will shift to, okay, learning opportunity.
Yeah. I wrote down a sentence here. Life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. So we can all have not gone up to the girl.
Yeah.
And all of us will feel different afterwards, depending on how we react not going to that girl.
Yeah. This sounds a little like last episode. Check out last episode. Sorry, continue.
No, but that's the whole thing, is how do you treat yourself when you are feeling down? How do you, what kind of words are you using?
Yeah.
Because words have certain meaning. And if you tell them to yourself all the time, you're going to feel a certain way, mostly bad if you're feeling bad, of course.
Sorry, again?
If you're feeling a certain way and you have all of the regrets and you're feeling sad, and it's only easier to use bad words to yourself. So when you're already down, it's pretty much autopilot to also bring more words that put you down.
Yeah.
It's like a cycle of negativity that keeps going.
Yeah.
And I think realizing and seeing, or like hearing the channel that you're on, can break that cycle.
Yeah, exactly. Realizing. Yeah, no, I mean, I wanted to repeat what you said, but you said it like, that I agree.
Yeah.
It's just so important to, so the first step, if you're feeling down a lot and you're feeling bad, the first step is the easiest step, because you only have to identify you're feeling bad and identify what is making you feel bad. That's the first step. Eventually you need to do action, but the first step is really
realizing.
I mean, it sounds easy, right? But is it really easy?
I mean, I was on depressed radio for years, having all of these thoughts constantly, especially during the night. I feel like I had a lot of distractions during the day. and on my phone. And as soon as I turned off my phone and turned off the light, the Depressed Radio was on.
Mm-hmm.
And that could go on for hours. And then you finally fall asleep. And what do you wake up with? The Depressed Radio.
Mm.
So I was never able to recognize my channels because I just felt like there's only one channel.
Yeah.
And that's the one that I'm on right now. This is my truth. And I realize now that I try to recognize which channel I'm on in the night. So when I'm thinking like, I do not want to go to sleep because I do not want to start the next day, I'm already thinking to myself, why am I thinking like this? Because if I wake up tomorrow, I'm already going to know that I'm not looking forward to the day.
Yeah.
I have trouble getting out of bed. I have trouble to start my day. And if the day before when I go to sleep, I try to think of things to look forward to, and it doesn't necessarily have to be things that you're actually looking forward to. But as soon as I wake up, I'm getting out of bed, I'm going to brush my teeth, I'm going to take a shower, just have a list of things that you can already do.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not laying in bed just thinking about, I do not want to do this. You just have to push yourself through.
So what you're saying is before going to bed would be a good moment to actively take some time to realize what channel is on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And what channel do I want to put on to fall asleep to? Yeah,
exactly.
And you're saying you always wake up with the same radio you went to sleep with. I think that's personal because I don't relate to that much. But I do think it's a very good idea to, at the end of the day, take the time to and write it down. That would be my advice, right? You could do this sitting in a chair and just thinking really hard. But it's best to write down, okay, what mood, what radio am I in? Maybe you could really ask yourself the question, what radio am I on? What radio channel am I on? And you could write it down in a story, but you could also just write down a channel name. Just think, I mean, the ones we have, Worry FM, Gratitude Radio, Confidence Channel, Stress Symphony, Regret Radio, Strengths Anthem, and Courage Concerto. That's just something we either thought of or we found somewhere on the internet. But it could be anything, really. Just give your own name to it. But really try to actively think about what channel is on right now. Is on and listening to it, it's two different things, like we said before. But what radio channel is on right now? And think, yeah, like you're saying, think about what channel do I want to go to bed with?
Exactly.
And try it. If it's Gratitude Radio you want to put on, write down 5 things you're grateful for. Yeah. I'm grateful for my friends.
Exactly.
Or for my house, or for the fact that I had a pretty nice lunch this afternoon. If it's Strengths Anthem, put down what do I like about myself? What are some of my strengths, for example? If it's, or Confidence Channel would work as well. Just whatever channel you want to put. Could be, so what if you want to be on Happy Radio? What should you write down?
I mean, you can write down a list of things that make you happy, but I guess it's very difficult because if you're on Depressed Radio, it's very difficult to put yourself in a place that makes you happy because maybe you have forgotten what it actually is to be happy. But maybe you can go to Gratitude Radio and you can write down a list of why do I love my friends? Why do I love my family? Why do I love my girlfriend? Why do I love my boyfriend? Why do I... what do I appreciate a lot? So have a list of things that make you feel better. So it doesn't necessarily have to be things that make you happy and make you feel extremely perfect, but have a list of positive things that you can just go by and have those thoughts when you try to go asleep.
Yeah. And it's an assignment, it's an exercise. And I also think it's very important that this isn't some medical cure. You can write down all these different things and you can try to actively put on the channel you want to put on, but just know that it won't always work.
Of course.
They're always, especially if depression radio has been on for such a long time and it's really established itself and it's hard to switch a channel. You know, the knob you turn to change the channel has rusted or whatever. You need to oil it a little, and that's fine, you know.
Yeah.
Don't be too hard on yourself on
because
that.
when you do the exercise, technically you're sort of trying to oil your radio,
Slightly
and the first times it's not really going to move. It's still very firm, you know. But I think the more that you oil it, the easier it happens.
Yeah, the more flexible it will get. And sometimes you might turn it a little and there'll be a little cordless channel, and then we'll just go back.
You know, there's like a string attached to it that's just pulling you back.
Exactly. And the more you use the string, the more flexible it will become. And so another thing from last episode, step by step. So yeah, just accept the fact that it won't always work, but you will still make progress.
Yeah, I also had a thing here. Let's see what it was called. The favorite playlist. And that might be your channel that you're sort of listening to with certain songs that are your favorite memories, favorite experiences. So that maybe somewhere in the past you have something to hold on to, some sort of anchor points that make you realize, okay, but life can still be pretty, life can still be good.
Yeah. In my experience, having literal songs in your head doesn't necessarily contribute to falling asleep. But I get what you mean. There'll always be moments, happy memories in your life, your past life, which you can always fall back to. Do you feel like those helped you a lot?
The favorite memories, the certain, we call them, or like I call them, like switching points, switching moments, certain experiences that brought me from depressed channel to the happy channel.
The turning points.
Your turning points, yeah. And those were very specific moments that I can hold on to, knowing that, okay, I went from A to B, from depressed to happy. So when I might be in my depressed channel, I can know, okay, but this is the way that I feel right now. I still know what it felt like to be in the happy channel. Yeah. So I know I can get there again. And I know that this is just temporary.
Why is that such a significant moment for you?
Because for a long time, I felt like I lost my happy channel, not knowing that it would still be there. So as soon as you haven't been there for a long time, you feel like it's not there anymore. Yeah. And now knowing that it is always there, you'll always have something to hold on to. Yeah.
And was it also because you noticed you had some sort of progress? I can imagine that would work for me, you know, but I don't know what it's like for you.
Like you realize things that can change. It's not always like this. But if you've been listening to the same radio channel for years, you feel like that is the only radio channel. Let's say you're driving your car and for the past few years to work, and you always had the same radio channel on. Yeah. And you tried changing it, but it didn't work. You tried doing something, it didn't work. And you thought, okay, you know, my radio channel is just fucked. Yeah. But maybe someone else comes into your car. Maybe you try doing something different. You've always been trying to turn it to the right and it doesn't work. Maybe you should try turning it to the left. Yeah. Yeah. But just because for my whole life I've been trying to turn it to the right, always thinking this is the only way. And then maybe someone else comes to me, you know, you can also put your radio to the left, right? You can also go to the different side of the channels. I'm like, is there a different way to access my channels?
So you need other people as well, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I think other people can also make you aware of what it's like to live, and that it's okay to have these thoughts, and that there are all these
other channels
and all these other possibilities that you can also go to.
And like we said earlier, people can put you in other channels as well. You know, if I'm giving you a lot of compliments, you're going to be in confidence concerto, you know?
But you can also put yourself in another channel by being honest about the channel that you're in. Yeah. Let's say we're meeting up as friends and you're in Worry FM. You're constantly in your head, constantly everything's going on. But if you express the way that you're feeling to me about you being in the Worry FM, it might change you and put you into another
Sorry, the dog is getting on the lap of Maurice, the camera guy. Little intermezzo.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, continue.
But I think when you express the way that you are feeling, you acknowledge the channel that you're on, and maybe that already switches that you change to another channel.
Yeah.
Because when you say the words out loud, that means that the words are gone and you can focus on something else.
Yeah. You mean by talking to other people?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. For me, it's funny you say this because that works so well for I think a lot of people, but for me personally, if I notice I'm on a channel and I'm like, oh, I can't get out of the channel, I've learned to just go to someone. Like if I'm alone, like call someone, and just be like, ah, can I talk to you for a second? Like there's just all these things that's on your mind, and once you're saying exactly what's on the Worry FM or the Depression Radio, the power the power of the words and the power of the message in your head loses its power. And once you're saying it out loud, you're like, this doesn't make any sense. What am I talking about? Like, and it makes it also way easier to switch the channels, and someone can even put you in your channel if you're like, oh, I'm feeling down and there's a lot of self-doubt, and that person is like, you say all these self-doubt, and then that person's like, that doesn't make any sense. You're good at this and you're good at this and blah blah blah, and this is why I appreciate you. You're like, that person is literally turning your radio from self-doubt FM to confidence channel. What more do you want?
Yeah, but that's the whole part. It's let's say we're having a conversation and I'm inside of my head and I'm a little tired. I'm not fully following. It goes too fast. If I continue having the conversation, I'm going to continue having these worry, having these doubts, having these... But I can also talk to you like, hey, I'm a little sleepy today. You're going very fast. Can you maybe repeat this because I didn't fully follow? Yeah. You're going to be understanding and like, okay, I mean, I get that. I'm also sometimes tired. Sure, I'll repeat it.
Yeah.
So then after that, I don't have to worry about being tired anymore because you know how I'm feeling. You know the way that I'm dealing. So I can maybe go from the worry of M to strength's anthem because I can focus on something else.
Yeah. So if you're on a bad channel, it also really helps to let people know, other people know you're on what channel you're on. I recently talked to someone who I did coaching on the university I went to for like first and second year students. And one of them was in the beginning very shy and very awkward, and really held back a lot of his emotions. And I recently talked to him after like half a year, and he was a completely different person. He just switched. There was something that switched in his mind, and he was just open. He was like full of energy, and it was crazy to talk to him. And what he told me, like, I share almost everything with people around me. And what this in this metaphor is, he's basically sharing whatever channel he's on always with people and what he needs. And he said, my life absolutely changed. I got closer to the people around me. I'm way happier. I got new friendships. I'm like at the place I want to be in my life because he is sharing whatever worries he have and whatever channel
he's sharing the way that he feels.
Yeah. And that helps so much because it will empower all the positive channels and it will take all the power from the negative channels.
No. So share your thoughts, share your emotions, share the radio channel that you're on, and maybe realize that people are a lot more understanding than we sometimes realize.
Yeah. Because we all have the radio channels and we all...
Yeah, because you look at people and you're like, he's on Courage Radio, he's on Strength Anthem, but maybe they are also on the Worry FM because you can't look inside of people's head.
Yeah, you'll never know. And the only thing you can do is sharing whatever radio you're on. Okay, last episode we asked you guys to let us know what were your first steps. We wanted to ask you again to, before, what is it you wanted to do?
Before going to bed, I mean, this has helped me quite a lot. I always had trouble getting out of bed in the morning, but I realized that it was because at the end of the night, I felt like I wasn't ready to wake up because I would have to drive the car for pretty far, and it was discouraging and not really looking forward to it, which made me put another alarm, waiting till the last minute to get out of bed. But what I realized is that when I do that, I also tell my body I do not want to start this day.
Yeah.
And now when I hear the alarm, I immediately get myself out of bed, just no thinking, no making things bigger than they are. And the way that I start my days are 1,000 is maybe a little big, but they are a lot better.
Yeah.
So I checked into my radio channel before I went to bed. If anything was negative, if anything was discouraging, I tried to focus on the part that made it better.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that I could do, have a list of your activities that you're going to start the day with. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, and try to do them without thinking.
Yeah.
But the idea is check into the radio channel that you're on at night. Which channel would you like to be on? And see if you can wake up with that channel in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And write it down. Ask yourself, what channel am I on right now? What channel do I want to be on? And
maybe also how you're treating yourself in that channel.
In the channel. Do you, maybe more like, do you listen to the channel? Do you actively listen to the channel? Or could you also choose to just let the channel be there and just not listen to it for a while? So let us know, what channel are you always on at night? What channel do you want to go to? And how are you going to actively put in the work to get there? It's a little much. Just maybe first let us know what channel you're on. And yeah, we would really like to thank you all for listening to today's episode. We would really like to welcome you guys to listen to the first and second one. I feel like we shared some insights there that might be able to help you. As always, really try to reflect on what you've learned today, and really think about it for a while. Just let it simmer down for a while. And we would love to see you guys next episode.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Let's go.
Let's go, baby.